I'm back in work clothes. I have to install a new alternator today. I don't know why, I'm not in the mood to do this for some reason. I think a little fatigued with the boat work. But it would be nice to have a smart alternator installed again. Right now we're running a spare. I sort of went through and chased it through the wires yesterday and I mapped out like an Excel spreadsheet what I need to do. I might just take it one step at a time here today, like maybe get it mechanically fixed and deal with the wiring to the battery box later or see how it goes. But sometimes the hardest part is starting these projects, and I think that's what I'm facing right now, but I'm sure once I get into it I will feel good.
While Bill works on our alternator in Penasco, Mexico, I am in Scottsdale, Arizona, about to head into surgery. Hopefully the last surgery required to complete my breast reconstruction post-mastectomy.
I suppose the first thing to do would be to shut off the batteries. Can't have the shocks going for me. That switch there is what controls our alternator. So I just switched it off. We have the ability to start off our house bank or the starter battery. We also have a switch inside the battery box that allows me to run the boat off the start battery, like all the other loads if we needed to in emergency as well. It sets the positive and negative terminal on the alternator, no voltage, so that's good. I'm gonna start deconstructing this mess. This is the resistor that we wired in. This Yanmar, my spare alternator, needs a dash light, which is like a little bit of load to trigger it into running. So that's what this is for. So we've been in Mexico for over a year now, and one of the things I've really enjoyed is learning Spanish. It's actually kind of like an important skill for us to be able to speak foreign language a bit, because a lot of the people we deal with don't speak any English. For example, when we built the arch, Ricky, the welder, spoke no English at all. And I remember I kept getting confused with mejor, which means better, and mujer, which means woman, and he was very confused. So that's why I'm happy to announce that this week's video is sponsored by Babbel. Babbel is one of the top learning language apps in the world, and it is scientifically proven to help you learn languages. And the way it teaches you is real-world conversations, which is how we use language. We're not looking to learn it academically, we're looking to use it in a practical, real-world sense, because that's how we're living. Hablo español. Yo hablo español. I speak Spanish.
Ella habla italiano.
Ella habla italiano.
Perdón, ¿tú hablas inglés?
Perdón, ¿tú hablas inglés? One of the cool things is using an app like this is that you get to improve your vocabulary. So instead of saying gracias, like thank you, you say gracias para tu ayudar, which means, or thank you for your help, which makes sense when we're dealing with workers and stuff. It makes sense to be able to speak it a little more fluently and conversationally. Right now we're happy to offer our subscribers 60% off your Babbel subscription using the link below. Okay, so the belt is out of the way. Okay, I gotta start unhooking this bad boy. So the challenge of this install is I'm going from the spare alternator, which is internally regulated, and I'm going back to an externally regulated alternator. This alternator we put on for the spare wasn't exact for our engine, so we had some additional wiring. But what I'm confused about right now is I have a brown wire from our engine harness, which is for the RPM, and it goes like AC something on an alternator, and then I have a red ignition wire. One of those two is supposed to activate the regulator to turn on. So ignition key goes on, the external regulator turns on and starts doing its calculations. So I'm just trying to figure that out, noodle through that right now. Let's talk about why we had to swap out the spare alternator. The spare alternator is what's called internally regulated, or a dumb regulator. It doesn't have many features that I could adjust, or any at all. The alternator we're installing is, which is externally regulated, is what's called a smart alternator. And the features that are very important for a lithium battery bank are the ability to control the amount of amps that the alternator is putting out, because the lithium battery bank will take as many amps, it'll just suck them all in. So I have the ability to scale back the alternator from 80 to 50 to help protect it from overheating. The other thing that the smart regulator or externally regulated alternator has is temperature compensation. There's actually a probe that measures the temperature of the case of the alternator, and in the event that the alternator is giving too much power to the battery bank, it'll shut off charging, protecting the alternator from overheating. If you leave the internally regulated, dumb regulated alternator running, there's a chance it could overheat it and burn it up using a lithium power bank, because it's going to give too much power, and there's no way to stop that. So that's why it's important we move to this externally regulated alternator. Okay, so I'm starting to make some progress. This brown wire is not on the alternator. This is for the internal regulator exciter, so we're not using that. That's if we didn't have a regulator on it, this would activate it. I think this white wire is my stator, which should hopefully feed RPM data to my TAC, and the blue is the field, which is basically what controls the power output of the alternator. Positive, negative, and this is D plus is a dash lamp, which I don't need. We don't have a dash lamp. We have the main positive terminal jumping into the starter motor, which then runs back to the batteries. But because we're going to be using, I'm going to be charging the house bank directly, not the starter, I have to separate that wire from the starter circuit. So I'm going to be running a separate positive wire and negative wire from the alternator output to the battery bank, which will then be switchable among the two, but it will primarily feed the house bank, and then we have a DC to DC that's keeping the start bank charged up our house bank. So this little jump cable that used to take the positive to the starter circuit is going to be broken now, so it's a different wiring setup. Well, now it's a real boat project. So it just threw up all over itself. I'm trying to finalize the alternator now. So I have to get to the battery box and all that fun stuff. Back to making electrical connections. Haven't done this in a while. I'm running 4 AWG wire. 80 amp alternator. It's not going much more than like 7 or 8 feet. Also, the alternator will be detuned probably down to like 55 or 60, so it doesn't overheat itself. So 4 should be plenty of ampacity capacity. Ampacity? Ampacity. Amp capacity. So I had to take the alternator back off. I did a dry fit to make sure the belt lined up and everything, but I didn't leave myself much room for connections. So I took it back off, and I'm going ahead and working on making the wiring connections now. So on the positive end, I have my battery cable. This is going to a Starlink circuit interrupter, which is just a protection in case the battery shut off. And then I have the power to the regulator. I'm just installing a new Starlink alternator circuit protector unit. I just figure start fresh. This thing basically, if there's no battery on, it protects the alternator from frying. So I already ran the wires on the alternator. It's just a positive and negative that kind of just opens and takes the power when it needs to. Okay, so it just popped on. Positive to the battery bank, voltage sense for the battery bank. It's all coming from our hub here. Our charging is going to the batteries. Close this up. This is a 1 amp fuse inside here for the voltage sense wire. It's gonna tidy up the wires and then do some checks on the alternator. See, all the wires are bundled and cleaned up and zip tied. This is a nice long harness. And there's a couple tests you're supposed to do. You wanna make sure the field wire has voltage, which mine does, which is the blue in the ground. So that's at 8 volts. Blue is between 4 and 12. The ignition wire has 12. It's supposed to be greater than 12. And then positive negative is correct here, which it is. Negative never means charging. Excellent.
Well, hello guys. It is the day after my surgery, and I'm feeling pretty decent. Yesterday I had some moments where I really wasn't feeling great, but I'm feeling a lot better today, and the most important thing for me is that I slept. And I could not sleep after the mastectomy. I think the anesthesia and then the oxy did not agree with me. So this time around I'm taking Vicodin, which is not as strong, but so far it seems to be better for my stomach. And yeah, I think it was just a shorter surgery, so maybe not as nauseous. So that makes me so happy, because as long as I'm sitting, I'm pretty comfortable. So I'm actually about to do some editing. And yeah, really the most painful thing has been just trying to get out of bed and into bed. I just am really grateful that I can stay with my sister. And I know Bill installed the alternator yesterday, and he's been busy, busy, busy. So hopefully in a week, I can get out of here and get back in Calico.
So I'm gonna do the unthinkable today, and that is drill a hole into the Starlink dish. We were experiencing outages when we were anchored and the boat was switching directions. So because we have an RV unit, it is meant to find the satellite it's going to communicate with and stay there, and it doesn't move. But when our boat swings 180 degrees, it has trouble. It doesn't actually reconnect to the satellite. So you kind of got to like turn it off, power back up, let it go through that sequence. The Starlink dish, if it's flat, I think it has like over 100 degree field of vision. So what I'm going to be doing is drilling into the dish and disabling the motor. There's just like a little wiring harness that you unclip, and then the motor doesn't work anymore. So I'm going to take the Starlink down, power it off, put it upside down so it gets confused, and then it will go vertical. And then I'm going to unplug it again. I'm going to drill a hole, disconnect the motor, and then seal it back up, and hopefully that should work. I've been putting this off because it doesn't feel right to do, but it's been on the list for a while, and this should help us just have more stable connection when we're anchored. At a slip, it is locked on. Of course, this voids our warranty, but I'm okay with that. So don't try this at home if you want to have a warranty. But I think as soon as you take it on a boat, its warranty is gone anyway. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna go do this. Wish me luck. Okay, so I have the dish sheet out of the mount. I'm gonna go ahead and plug them back in and see if they'll go vertical. Relatively flat. Actually move it closer to the solar panel too, so it's not in the way of the block and tackle here, and it'll be a little bit closer to the panels. Okay, so it goes on the bottom right corner. I believe it's 5 inches and 5 inches, so I'm gonna go ahead and measure that out. See, that's what we're after. That little motor pin, that'll disable it. Okay, so that's disabled. Nothing's broken, just able to plug that back in if we need to. I have this plug from my buddy Mike on Allegria. It clicks in perfectly. I'm also gonna put some beetle tape just to make sure that it doesn't get any water in there. But you can hear it actually seats really nicely. Won't go anywhere. Actually, it's probably pretty weatherproof, but you never know when we get into some salt spray. Okay, so that's pretty flat. Let's see how she goes. I'm gonna turn on the Starlink app now. Okay, she's online. That's good news. I think that's one. I don't know why I put that off for so long. It seemed super intimidating, but now that I did it, not so bad.
Well, I just pulled up to my follow-up appointment for the surgery with 1 minute to spare, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the surgeon thinks about my healing. I think it's been pretty good overall, but yeah, looking forward to getting his thoughts on it. Well, I just got out and it went really well. The surgeon was pleasantly surprised, so I healed much better this time than I did with the mastectomy. So that's awesome. He wants to see me back for another follow-up, which is going to be challenging with our life, but yeah, I'm gonna figure that out, and yeah, super stoked that I'm on the road to recovery.
So one of the things we're super excited to add this year is a dive compressor from Mantis. We have all the scuba gear on board already, but we have no ability to refill our tanks. And all those years we've already voted with Delos and One Life, they had compressors. So it was an expense, but we were happy to splurge for it, and it's one of the things we're super excited about. The main problem is, where do you put it? I think I almost feel like it's gonna be the thing that puts us over the edge. Like, where do we store a dive compressor on a 36-foot sailboat? But we found a good spot. And I think it's one of those things where you build a shelf or you make a space actually work for you. I think we had a similar thing. We installed the air conditioner, like that hanging locker, with sort of not a lot of usable space. So we'll show you. So now you get a better idea of the space we're working with. It has to go between these two pieces of cabinetry, and then someone to put like some sort of support in there. It's gonna be a little challenging. The dive compressor fits in nicely, and I took some measurements. I created a template, but it seems like it's 22 inches long, 13 at the front, 31 at the back. All right, so new plan. We actually have a connecting piece that connects the two sides of the V-berth, and it's a little bit bigger because there's lips that it's recessed in on either side. But if I take that out, because it's already like stiff in the right shape and the right angle, and then I back off what I need for the lip, that should fit in the shelf. So that is a new plan. Turns out it's actually not too much different than what's already in place. But I want to go right underneath this straw here, and then enough room to open up underneath here. So it's about this shape, which that's pretty cool. Mike's helped me out this project because he's much better at this carpentry stuff. I don't do this.
Well, thankfully you had this piece here that almost fits perfect, so.
That did work out well.
All we needed to see was just, it will need to be a little bit wider, so I was able to just set it in there. Kind of centered it up. And then you can see there's a gap on both sides. So to see where that goes, I just, you know, we could hot glue this on as another way, or just scribe a line, and then when we go out and cut it, we'll know that's what our
gap is. Yeah, that's a nice little trick though. I wouldn't have thought of that. So yeah, I think it's turned out pretty sweet. We're gonna go up to the Allegria workshop, which is Mike's truck. Like I said, they're leaving a little before us, so it's an important project to get done while we have access to good tools. Don't carry like carpentry tools on board. I have like a Sawzall and Dremel, angle grinder, jigsaw, but you know, like a skill saw, like a much cleaner cut. We could also router the edges. I'm super stoked that we found a spot to put the dive compressor that seems organized and we'll still have storage. So once again, creativity for the win. Our friends thought that I was crazy ordering a dive compressor for Calico, but I think we're gonna do it. I think we're gonna pull it off. All right. So it sort of fits. We ran out of material in the back, but what are you gonna do? It'll get the job done. I'm not about to go buy a half sheet of plywood when that's just sitting around, because we were storing bigger things like bins for outboard spares and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and install the forward supports now that it's all kind of finalized. Maybe varnish it later. It might be a grace job though. She loves the varnish, and I have other things I need to be doing, but yeah, pumped. I mean, it's pretty good. Dive compressor on a 36 footer.
Right now to my oncology appointment, and going to see what my numbers look like and find out what the future looks like in terms of appointments. So this is a big one, and yeah, I'm going to feel hopefully very relieved when this is over.
So as a result of the season using the boat with our new canvas, we actually opted to make some changes to our connecting piece. We had left it a little bit longer. Oh, I came on the wrong side, dang it. The boom's in the way. We had left it longer and drooping because we were afraid the boom wouldn't clear, but actually when I was close hauled, the boom has plenty of space. So the other thing we noticed is that we never took it down. We actually kept them sailing the whole time. So when we came back, we had it shortened, and we actually added there's a window so we could see through while we're sailing, which I think is pretty cool. Nice big view, you could look right through, see the sails, trim the sails, all that. And then I also took the battens from our old mainsail, and I'm stiffening this because I think someday we might try to do an enclosure off of this, so this will give a nice place. We already have sunshades that go, but this will give a stronger place to have panels for waterproofness. So I am working on that right now. I'm just gonna go trim these down, and then yeah, then this will be done. It does look much better. It's a little stiffer, the water can run off of it, and I like the window.
Well, I am just taking a break from my edit, and I wanted to give you a little update on my situation. So I had my appointment with the surgeon. That went great. He said I'm healing great, and so it's just a matter of time. The other thing is my oncology appointment went really well. So my numbers look really good, and for follow-up, I'm going to have to see my doctor again in 6 months, so I have to figure that out, but that went well, so that's great. The only thing that I've been dealing with actually since the boat show is I got really, really sick. I got some kind of a virus, and that's actually been still lingering, and that's actually been more painful than the surgery recovery. So I kind of have to watch that because I've been sick for quite a long time. So I shouldn't be sick for more than another 2 weeks, my doctor said. So that's like the only thing that I'm just kind of dealing with, because it's lingering in my throat and my cough and stuff. But overall, I'm feeling really good. The surgery and recovery went better than I expected, and I'm going to be leaving my sister's soon, which is sad because I've now spent so much time with her. And since I had a pretty decent recovery, I worked a lot of the time, but I got to hang out with her and stuff too. It's just nice to kind of, you know, when you're like in someone's life like regularly and like daily, you just like get a different kind of like visiting experience, and so that's like been really, really nice. Didn't film too much of that, but yeah, just been hanging out, been working on a puzzle at night, which has been very satisfying. Yeah, it'll be sad to leave, but Bill's waiting for me, eagerly awaiting me, and yeah, it's time to go back to Calico Skies. So that'll be happening tomorrow. Good girl. What you got there, Bijou? You got some tape, huh? Look at that, you silly dog.
Good. Hands forward, downward facing dog. Bend your knees. Inhale. Exhale, step or fly to the top. Inhale, half lift. Exhale.
Huh? Did you speak? Good girl. Let's get you a treat. Is it Halloween-y? Good girl, nose plays. Bijou down. Yes, you are in your hot dog costume.